I never felt good enough. I'm not sure if this feeling was placed on me by other people in my life or if I did it to myself. And if I'm honest, it goes back as far as I can remember. When I was in first grade, we were assigned this project to read 30 books within a 30-day period out loud to our parents. And then we would get a prize from the prize box, a little toy or a deck of cards or something. And I looked in that box as we were given our sheet to fill out the 30 books. I looked in that box and I saw this sparkly deck of old maid cards that I knew just had to be mine. And I loved to read, so this project, it didn't really overwhelm me. So I went home with my sheet and I told my mom that I was going to read all 30 books to her that same night. And she said, okay. I'm sure she rolled her eyes maybe a little bit, but I followed her around. I chose my 30 books from my bookshelf and I took them one by one and followed my mom everywhere she went that night, into the kitchen, into the laundry room, watching her take care of my brother and sister. I followed her and I read all 30 books that night. The next morning, we got up and she signed my sheet on all 30 places, and I just knew that I was going to be the first one done, and I knew that those sparkly old maid cards would be mine. I was proud, and I went up to my teacher to show her that I had read all these 30 books, not in 30 days, but in one night, and I was ready for her to be proud of me and to present me with the prize box. But when I gave her my sheet, she looked at me not proud of me at all, but she looked at me with kind of a deep sense of frustration. She said, "Angela, you finished? It was supposed to be for the whole month." And I said, "Yes, I finished," with great pride and excitement. But then she looked at me and she just kind of dismissed me. She said, "Fine, the prize box is over there." Thank you so much for joining us this week on The Daily Dose. This week, I'm going to spend the week specifically talking to women about the messages that we get as women and the burden we as women carry. Now, don't worry, guys. Pastor Hans will focus on you next week, but this week is Women's Week. If you're watching on Facebook, would you do me a favor? Would you go ahead and like this post as well as to share it on to your own personal page? Maybe consider tagging a woman that could use some hopeful news this time. If you're watching on YouTube, would you go ahead and subscribe to Calvary's YouTube channel so that you can continue to hear all the things that Calvary is up to? And if you're watching at home on cable access, will you invite a friend to watch with you tomorrow? Back in first grade, as I grabbed my sparkly deck of old maid cards, I found myself not feeling very good about them. And then I quietly stuck them into my desk. A less sensitive child might have told the teacher to just stick it, but I looked at my teacher's face and the disappointment and frustration she felt, and I looked at my deck of cards, and I just felt like I had done something really wrong. And for most of us, or for most of the women that I have talked to and that I know, there's always a story that goes kind of like this, a story where they felt like they had done something wrong and they were just not good enough. Oftentimes, women, we are the carriers of emotions. We carry our own emotional state as well as the emotional state of the others that surround us as well. We carry our parents' emotions and our kids and our spouses and our siblings and our friends as well. And let's be honest for a second, this is internalized in us at a really early age. I mean, I had done this awesome thing, this whole month's project in one day, but instead I left feeling like I was not good enough. You see, I didn't meet my teacher's plan for how this was supposed to work, so instead I carried her emotion instead of feeling mine. For our Women's Week, I texted some friends to see what they would like to hear about, what would speak to them right now, what things are they wrestling with. And what I heard back would break your heart. There are some deep, heavy burdens and deep worries that women carry. Women carrying way more than their bodies and souls can hold, carrying their kids' emotional needs and marriages, carrying health burdens and their families' health burdens, carrying societal messages of expectation and perfection, carrying work stressors and home stressors, carrying and just waiting for an exhale, waiting, and they'll never know if or when it will even come. These burdens, these worries, they cause us to feel like we are not enough, Like we aren't patient enough or disciplined enough or strong enough or capable enough or balanced enough, or we don't have enough time. And it's internalized in us women from a very early age. Anyone else ever feel this way? And if I'm really honest and vulnerable with you for a second, I think that sometimes the church, it just adds to this pressure that we already feel. And it's added to my life, to be sure. Somehow we got this message that we as women, we should be these perfect, good, pious Christian ladies, ones who are always giving, who are always sacrificing, always carrying, always providing, always teaching, always doing, ones who are trying to get the whole project done in one day and then left feeling guilty anyway. But in the Bible, it's different. Jesus' message has nothing to do with being enough and nothing to do with feeling guilty when we can't keep it all together. And I don't know how somewhere along the line we got this entirely wrong. For me, this shift in understanding came when my mom was dying a couple of years ago. She had brain cancer and the complications were just too much. And she had about 3 days where she knew that she was going to be dying. And in one of our last conversations, she looked at me scared and crying, and she said, "Angie, what if I haven't done enough?" You see, this not enough message had been so internalized from my wonderful, beautiful, kind mom. This message of not enough was in this conversation that in everything that Jesus had changed for me. It was in this conversation with my mom that it broke open a new understanding of what Jesus did on the cross and what Jesus meant when he said in the book of Matthew, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke, take Jesus' yoke upon me and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Ladies, I know that you are hustling. I know that you are carrying heavy burdens, and you've internalized these messages. I know that you feel like you're at the end of your rope, and I know that it's a lot heavier right now. And if you're like me, I've just had enough with trying to be enough. And I want this easy yoke. I want this light burden that Jesus is talking about in the book of Matthew. And so that's what we're going to work on this week. This Women's Week, we are going to explore guilt and patience and balance and grace. And I hope you'll join us to take on his light burden. I'll see you tomorrow.
Before he spoke creation, the God of heaven knew our names. Formed in his reflection, we are his glory on display. And his heart is good, he is always kind. With the cross he proved he is on my side. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. And though we stumble, he will not let us fall. We are the Lord's, and he will never forsake his own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. His love he lavished on us and called us children of the King. And in his loving kindness, he chose the lowly and the weak. His heart is good. He is always kind. With the cross he proved he is on our side. the sons. We are the daughters of God. When the lies speak louder than the truth, remind me that I belong to you. When I can't see past the dark of night, remind me you're always by my side. When the lies speak louder than the truth, remind me that I belong to you. When I can't see past the dark of night, remind me you're always by my side. You're by my side. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. And though we stumble, He will not let us fall. We are the Lord's, and He will never forsake His own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God.